welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, a warm welcome to you as well. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please take a second to subscribe to my channel, that red button right there, and ring that notification bell next to it for all notifications so that you will not miss any of my videos. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot believe how fast this year went by. We've been in this pandemic for almost 2 years, and the time went by so much faster than previous years for some reason. At least that's how I feel. What do you think, you guys? Do you feel the same way? I felt like these 2 years just went by so fast. I can't believe the year's already over. I remember ringing in the new year just as if it was just yesterday. Anyway, we'll be ringing in a new year just in a few days here soon. I can't believe it. Now, as the year 2021 is coming to an end, I thought about my fragrance collection and what I wore the most this year. What perfumes did I reach for the most this year? So I took a few days, kind of going through my perfume collection and pulling out the fragrances that I reached for the most and wore the most. My husband, also kind of jumped in and helped me remember which ones I wore the most, and I remember very well the ones I reached for the most. Some of them were a bit of a surprise. I didn't realize I reached for them as much as I did. So if you guys want to see what I wore the most this year, both niche and designer fragrances, just keep watching. So you guys, I think I'm going to talk about the fragrances I wore the most in the colder months first, since we're still in the colder months. And then I will talk about my spring-summer fragrances that I wore the most this spring and summer. So two of the fragrances that I kept reaching for in the colder months, I still am reaching for these. If I did go out, it was on date night or some kind of function, at nighttime, something, important, something dressed up. So I wore quite a few fragrances that are intoxicating and sexy and make me feel beautiful. So the two that are on top of my mind right now especially are these two right here. So I'm going to talk about one at a time. So the first one here, you guys, Mont Parfum Cristal by M. Micallef. You guys, this fragrance is one of the most intoxicatingly beautiful, gorgeous feminine scents in my collection. And Micallef makes some of the most stunning, gorgeous, intoxicating feminine fragrances. They also make men's, they make, like unisex fragrances that are, masculine leaning too. But boy, the feminine fragrances, they're so good. Again, this is so, I don't have to bring it any closer than this to smell this fragrance. Honestly, I can smell it right there. This projects like crazy, and it lasts for a long time, going on 10 hours on skin, on clothes until you wash them. This, you guys, I get so many compliments when I wear this fragrance. It is one of the most, if you want a dumb reach, if you don't want to think about too much but you want to smell absolutely divine, here's the one for you. It's a super sweet fragrance, but it's much more than that. It's got a beautiful rose accord, there's vanilla, there's a massive amber dose in here, as you can tell by the juice color. This obviously has quite a bit of amber. This fragrance is just so stunning, you guys. It has a little bit of beautiful, soft, warm spices like pink pepper and cinnamon. But the thing that is most beautiful about this fragrance is that massive dose of vanilla with that gorgeous Bulgarian rose in here. Oh, rose and vanilla, match made in heaven. And add to that toffee note in here. There's toffee, I think, in the base of this fragrance that adds that beautiful gourmet caramel touch to this fragrance. So with that rose and vanilla and that caramel from the toffee, oof, So good. And this also has, like I said, amber, a lot of amber in here, and a little bit of musk I can smell. It's musk kind of adds that sexy sort of edgy touch. Guys, this gets so many compliments, it's not even funny. This projects like crazy. I wear this fragrance and I go past people, they can smell me. It has amazing intoxicating scent trail. If you want something, you know, if you're going on a date night or something and you want to smell absolutely sexy, gorgeous, stunning, all of those at the same time, here's the one for you. This is M. Michelaf Mont Parfum Cristal. And then I have this sister of it, which is the original Mont Parfum. This one is also like its sister. Beautiful, very intoxicating fragrance. Oh, so good. This is also beautifully sweet, but it's also woody, and it has patchouli, has a little bit of that earthy touch. So if you're not a patchouli fan, I would say I recommend the Mont Parfum Cristal over this to you. But my goodness, you guys, don't be afraid of patchouli. It depends on the fragrance composition. In this fragrance, it's so beautiful. Patchouli really goes with sweet fragrances. Actually, believe it or not, it's weird. It actually works really well. So this has orange blossom, mandarin orange, and then there is a passion fruit note in here. This also has a massive dose of caramel. There's a little bit of vetiver, and there's patchouli. So there is a little bit of an earthy touch to this fragrance, which I absolutely adore. But I know some people don't really like patchouli. And then of course it has musk, which always is a great addition to a sexy fragrance. Again, another beautiful, intoxicating fragrance that people can smell from miles away. Same as this one, both of these. People will smell you. If you're in the hallway, they'll smell you in the rooms of the hallways, like miles away. Honestly, they both last for a very long time, 10 hours, I would say, on skin and on clothes until you wash them. This is fairly new to my collection, however, so it's surprising because I wore it so much more than fragrances that I've had in my collection for a very long time. Considering how, you know, short of a time I've had this fragrance, I still wore it a ton. Like I wore it back to back. Since I received it, I wore it on several date nights. I wore it to a function that people were complimenting me on this fragrance. I got a lot of compliments. I've had Mont Parfum Cristal for a while. So yeah, I've had that for a while, but considering how new this is in my collection, I was surprised as to how much I wore it. This is M. Michelaf Mont Parfum. So next I have two fragrances from the same house. One of them I've had for a while and I've been wearing it since I received it. And then the other one I recently received, and this one, you know, considering how short of a time I've had it in my collection, it shocked me as to how many times I wore it. I've been wearing it non-stop since the day I received it. So let me talk about the first one. This one is Maison Francis Kurkdjian Oud Satin Mood Extrait de Parfum. This one, you guys, is such a stunning fragrance. This one is a very dark, kind of mysteriously sexy fragrance, you know. It kind of gives you that baddie vibes, Black Widow or Femme Fatale vibes a little bit, you know. Even the bottle, the juice is kind of dark. So this one, you guys, is another gorgeous rose oud fragrance with a massive dose of vanilla. That oud in here is so beautiful and refined. It's such a gorgeous oud. It does not smell offensive. It's a stunning oud and works so well with that rose, which is what gives that dark, mysterious, sexy vibes. And then add that massive dose of vanilla to it. It makes it so gorgeously feminine, in my opinion. This is a unisex fragrance, but to me, this smells very much like a feminine fragrance. There is also, I know, amber in this fragrance, which is stunning, a great addition. And there's that gorgeous powdery violet note that adds a level of sophistication to this fragrance, you know. So beautiful. I wore this a ton. I still am wearing it. I will wear it until the winter is over. This is definitely a cold weather fragrance. By the way, I am talking about all of these are cold weather fragrances right now. I'm speaking of Oud Satin Mood is one of my top favorites in my collection. Reached for it a ton. So the next one is also from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. It is Grand Soir. This one is very new to my collection. I've only had it for a few weeks, but you guys, I have been wearing this like non-stop. This is a stunning amber vanilla fragrance. Those are the two things that you smell the most in this fragrance. Obviously, it's gorgeous amber fragrance. You see that ambery juice. Whew, so intoxicating. I would call all these four fragrances quite intoxicating. So this has a massive vanilla accord from 3 types of vanilla. There's vanilla, there's tonka bean, and then there's benzoin. All those are like vanilla fragrance notes. Tonka beans like an intense vanilla, deeper vanilla, and benzoin is a resin that smells like vanilla. You get a massive vanilla dose in here and then a massive dose of obviously amber. Then there is a little bit of labdanum in here that, you know, adds like a leather-esque touch to this fragrance, because labdanum can smell a little bit like leather, but it's very like subtle and very sexy, that addition in here. But you smell the most the vanilla and amber. It's really a amber vanilla fragrance, you guys. If you love amber vanilla fragrances, you shouldn't live without this one. This is beautiful. Wore this non-stop, like day after day after day after day from the day I received it. So I've worn this more times than some of the fragrances that I've had in my collection for a very long time. Just in the short time I've had this. This is Maison Francis Kurkdjian Grand Soir. So next I have a designer fragrance that I wore a ton this year in the colder months when the weather started to get cold. I wore it on date nights. Whenever we went out, I wore it quite a bit. This one is one of my favorite fragrances with the cherry accord in it. It is Jean Paul Gaultier's Scandal by Night. This one is a sexy date night type fragrance. I wore this so many times when we went out. This one has a beautiful cherry note in here that is so stunning. This one is better than the original Scandal. This is Scandal by Night. This has also honey, but honey isn't like the most dominant accord in here if you ask me. This has, like I said, cherry. There's of course a massive dose of vanilla like most sexy fragrances. This one has white florals, some citruses. There's a little bit of patchouli, which is not that like front and center or anything like that. My husband loves it. I love the way I smell when I wear it. It's definitely a colder months, nighttime kind of fragrance. Reached for it a ton when we went out this year. It's Scandal by Night. Next, I have a fragrance from one of my favorite designer fragrance lines of all time. It is, of course, Giorgio Armani's C fragrances. And I have in my hand Giorgio Armani Untones, the new formulation. So the old formulation is black. As you guys know, the bottle is black. I'll put a picture up here. I actually have it upstairs. I don't have it down here with me. But this is the one I reached for. I didn't reach for the old version anymore this year, because this one to me is so much more beautiful even than the older Untones, which I also absolutely adore. This one, you guys, is so beautiful. To me, this one is a cross between almost like the Le Parfum, which is, I think, discontinued. Again, it's from the C line, and the old Untones, like a cross between those two. This obviously has amber, as you can see. So this has a very big dose of amber, which I think what made this kind of sexier, you know, that heightened amber in here. This is just as fruity as the other 3 fragrances, but this one is also like warm and ambery. You know, it's got woody notes. This is quite an aromatic and balsamic fragrance too, which makes it perfect for colder months as the weather transitions from, you know, summer to fall. That's actually a really good time to wear this. That's when I wore this quite a bit this year. When the weather was transitioning into the fall, I wore this a ton. I reached for it a ton. I wore this to work even, really. It's a fragrance that I wore pretty much everywhere. So you guys, this has that gorgeous, juicy blackcurrant note, just like any other sea fragrance. That's like the one note that sort of ties the whole line together. You know, so that signature blackcurrant, juicy blackcurrant is there in the opening, which is amazing. And of course, this has that gorgeous Turkish rose. And there's that Delena, which is kind of like a slightly herbally sexy kind of fragrance note that adds to that amberiness of this fragrance, if you ask me. Of course, there's amber in this fragrance, whether it's a note that's revealed or not, obviously has amber. There's obviously vanilla in this fragrance as well. There's patchouli. Most of the sea fragrances have patchouli. This is so stunning. It's hard to describe what this smells like. Just imagine Ceylon Parfum, if you have them, and the old formula of the Dubois Untones meshed together. It's kind of like what this smells like. Reached for it a ton the beginning of fall as the weather was transitioning and into the fall. Dubois Untones by Giorgio Armani. Next, in my hand, I have one of the most beautiful, feminine, sexy, designer gourmand fragrances of all time. And no matter how many expensive niche fragrances I add to my collection, this is a fragrance that I constantly keep reaching for, not just this year, pretty much from the day I bought this fragrance. It's always been a favorite of mine, and this is, I think, my third bottle. I cannot remember, and I put quite a dent into this as well. This is none other than Viktor and Rolf Bonbon Couture. So this is not the original. The original is Bonbon, and this is Bonbon Couture. This one is sexier, and I will tell you why. It's one note that I think makes this even sexier than the original. This one, you guys, is a beautifully sweet caramel floral fragrance. There are some white florals in here with a big heavy dose of caramel. It's a sweet fragrance. It of course has vanilla, like any sexy fragrance. There's some citruses, there's some patchouli, there's woody notes. I mean, it's a beautiful fragrance. This one is a compliment getter. Oh my gosh, like, it projects, by the way, like crazy. People will smell you. This one is something that lasts on my skin and clothes forever too. Very, very amazing. The performance is amazing. This is like my ideal feminine gourmand fragrance, you guys. If I were to ever create a fragrance, this is the type of fragrance I will go for. It's quite the balsamic, sort of sexy fragrance too, you know. It has some beautiful citrus notes like mandarin orange and something else. There are white florals like orange blossom neroli. Like I said, a huge dose of caramel, massive dose of vanilla. And then what makes this really sexy over the original is the white tobacco note that's in here, which I think really puts this over the edge. So good. The white tobacco note that's in here, and there's of course musk in here, which makes it sexy also. It's a beautiful fragrance, guys. I just absolutely love it. Look at the dent I put into it. I don't know if you can you tell the dent I put into it? This is like my third bottle. I don't know, it's like right over here. So it's like half gone. And this is my like third bottles, if that tells you something. I don't think I went through the other two bottles this year, but I've had this fragrance like forever. Absolutely love it. This is Viktor and Rolf Bonbon Couture. Another masterpiece of a gourmand is in my hands, you guys, that I reached for a ton this year. I wore it so much. Every time I wear it, I smell so edible. Like, that's what my husband says. My husband smells me, he's like, I want to take a bite out of you. It's that kind of fragrance, you know. It's none other than Xerjoff Italica. This beauty, oof, is just, I always say this every time I talk about this fragrance. This one to me smells like a biscotti, almond biscotti dipped in milk, sprayed with musk, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It also smells a little bit like a snickerdoodle sugar cookie dipped in milk. you know, with almond. Somehow there's almond in it too, you know. This is very much a sweet, lactonic, almondy, nutty, vanilla type fragrance. So this has almond, there's milk, there's toffee. That gives it sort of that caramel vibes to this fragrance. Milk makes it, of course, smell lactonic, very milky, very, you know, creamy. And then, of course, there's a huge dose of vanilla. There's that sensual sandalwood and that stunning, sexy musk with a bunch of other notes, but those are what stand out the most. This one is just one of those fragrances that make you smell edible, and it is also a compliment getter. It tends to smell better on the skin than right out of the bottle even. It's one of those fragrances that really warms up on the skin. The performance is really nice of this fragrance as well. This is Sergioff Italica. Next, I have a fragrance that I have worn a ton, not just this year, last year as well. This is one of my all-time favorite super feminine, gorgeous girl fragrances. You know, like if you want to smell like a gorgeous, sexy, feminine woman, girl, whatever. This is actually something that smells quite youthful too. So, you know, people of any age can wear it really, but it is more of a youthful smelling fragrance. This is none other than Elisab, a girl of now. Now look at that dent. Can you tell? Yeah. Look at that. You tell I love this fragrance. Oh yes, that's a dent, you guys. So yeah, this is the original Elisab Girl of Now. There are some flankers which I also love. I have the flankers as well, but I always go back to the original because there's something about the original that's super beautiful and super nutty that I absolutely love. If you want to feel beautiful, smell beautiful instantly without having to think about what to wear, here's the one for you. And this is something you can wear to like pretty much anything, you know, like you can go on a date night wearing this, or you can just go to any kind of like evening occasion. I mostly wear this in the evening time, but you can wear this daytime if you want to. So this has got the gorgeous almond and pistachio nutty notes in here that make this fragrance what it is, really, with some gorgeous white florals like orange blossom and magnolia. There are some like vanilla type notes like tonka bean in here. There's a little bit of patchouli, but it's very well blended into the fragrance. You don't almost smell the patchouli at all. I will always have this in my collection, you guys. It's something that men absolutely love. Men love the way this fragrance smells. Wore it a ton this year, like all the time. This is Elisab, Girl of Now. Next, I have another gorgeous sort of nutty vanilla fragrance that is perfect for colder months in my hands. This one is one of those cold, sexy kind of fragrances. This one is Dior Hypnotic Poison. Wore it a ton this year when the weather started getting cold. You guys, like I said, this is a sweet, nutty, white floral type fragrance with notes like coconut in it that makes it so beautiful. This has got a cold vibe about this fragrance, kind of like Dior Addict, you know, in that same way. Yeah, this is such a gorgeous fragrance. I absolutely adore this one. This is the Eau de Toilette, by the way. It's better than the Eau de Parfum. One of the rare occasions where the Eau de Toilette smells better than the Eau de Parfum. It's a beautiful vanilla fragrance that's sweet, that is got a lot of white florals. It's a little bit powdery, some woody notes. It's got nutty notes that make it so delicious. This has juicy fruity notes like plum, there's apricot, there's coconut in this fragrance. There's a massive dose of vanilla, of course. There is almond, which adds that gorgeous nuttiness with the white florals. Really go well together. There's that sensual sandalwood. So this has got some juicy fruity notes like plum, apricot. This has a bunch of gorgeous white florals like tuberose, jasmine, lily of the valley. This has that coconut note that adds really beautifully to this fragrance. And then there's that sensual sandalwood. There is a big dose of musk that makes it very sexy. That almond, the nuttiness from the almond is so good in this fragrance. This gives you like that sort of sexy cold vibes, you know, cold sexy vibes like I'm beautiful, don't approach me. You know, kind of the same way Dior Addict does. So same type of fragrance. reached for it a ton this year when the weather started getting cold. Dior Hypnotic Poison. Next, I have a gorgeous vanilla fragrance that I love to layer with other fragrances and wear it on its own. This is from the house of Keali. You guys know what I'm talking about. Keali Vanilla 28. This one is, I had a small size, by the way, which I went through, and then I bought the big bottle. This is a beautiful vanilla, sweet vanilla fragrance that you can layer with other Keali fragrances, which I do a ton. I love to layer this with Elixir 11. It's like my favorite combination, this and Elixir 11. Ooh, so good. And you can mix it with any of the other Keali fragrances really, except maybe the citrus one. Yeah, I don't remember layering it with the citrus one, but I love to wear this actually at nighttime too, you guys. It just makes me feel so comforted and warm somehow. This has got that gorgeous brown sugar note in here with that vanilla. I think there's only tonka bean in here, however. There's tonka bean and brown sugar. Beautiful fragrance. Love to layer it with others. Wore it a ton. Keali Vanilla 28. Another gorgeous rose fragrance I wore a ton as the weather started getting cold is in my hands. Perfumes de Marly, Delena Exclusive. You guys know this is my favorite Delena out of the 3 Delenas, which I have all 3 of them. This one has that heightened incense note that makes it gives it kind of an orientalish vibe, and this one has oud, which other ones don't have, which makes this kind of perfect for cold weather. This is the one out of the 3 Delenas that I wear in the winter time, fall and winter, but mainly winter. Whereas Delena La Rose I wear in the summertime, and Delena I tend to wear the original in springtime. So this one is my favorite Delena. It's so intoxicating. This of course has that Turkish rose note that is signature across all 3 Delenas, and that fruity, beautiful lychee note, which all 3 of them have. But this one doesn't have the rhubarb with that green sour touch. This of course has that juicy pear note. It has, you know, the massive dose of vanilla. There's sandalwood, I believe too, and amber. But anyway, it's a stunning fragrance, perfect for colder months. Wore it a ton as the weather started getting colder. Makes me feel pretty, makes me feel lovely, pretty, attractive, basically. It's Delena Exclusive. So I have a gorgeous boozy floral in my hands that is so unique that you can wear it in the springtime and like winter. I think it's a winter spring type fragrance, although funnily enough I actually wore this a few times in late summer as well. It's really not meant for hot weather, you guys. It's a very, very strong boozy floral fragrance. This has the most beautiful booze note. I will tell you what it is. This one is Amouage Blossom Love. So you guys, this has the most beautiful boozy note in here. It's amaretto with those gorgeous florals in here like cherry blossom, ylang ylang, rose, heliotrope. Ooh, works so well, the booze accord in here. The amaretto is delicious in this fragrance. And this is very, very strong. It's a very strong floral. I'll tell you why. Because there's a suede note in the base that gives it that leather, like a gorgeous, like luxurious, expensive leather scent to this fragrance, which makes it really strong and makes it last for a very long time. And on top of it, of course, that booze note kind of makes it strong as well. And then this has of course a massive dose of vanilla from the tonka and vanilla. There's amber in here. Very beautiful bouquet of florals, this fragrance. Very, very feminine. Makes me feel absolutely goddess-like stunning when I wear this fragrance. Wore it a ton last spring and this winter. This is Amouage Blossom Love. So you guys, we're on to the summer fragrances now. So I have quite a few here that I'm gonna try to go through really quickly. So the first one is a new release from this year that I wore a ton in spring and summer. My husband is absolutely in love with this fragrance and he cannot stop sniffing me when I wear this. It's got one of my favorite yellow floral notes in here. You guys who've been with me for a long time, my OG subscribers, know what I'm talking about. Yes, this has that gorgeous frangipani note in here that makes it so unique. And it's a very unique fragrance. I'll tell you why it is. This is Narciso Ombre. This one, you guys, is a musk fragrance. As you know, Narciso, the house of Narciso, is known for their musk fragrances, but this one, I never thought that yellow florals like frangipani would go so well with musk. It's really not a combination I thought of before, but it is so divine. This is the most beautiful Narciso fragrance out of all of them, I'm telling you. My husband absolutely loves this fragrance on me. He's always like, when I wear this fragrance, he loves it. So this has ylang ylang and frangipani, both of which are my favorite yellow florals. There's a bunch of white florals in here as well. I'm guessing, you know, magnolia, I'm thinking jasmine, those type of white florals. And then this has a good dose of amber in here as well. Of course, that massive dose of musk makes it so sexy. It's got some woody notes in here. It is a stunning fragrance that is so beautiful to wear in the spring and even in the summer. It's probably the lightest musk fragrance in Narciso collection. So if you're not a fan of musk fragrances, which you guys warm up to musk fragrances, they're so sexy, they're so edgy, but if you don't like too big of a dose of musk, this is probably the one you should try first from the Narciso, from House of Narciso, because it is like the one with the mildest dose of musk, but it smells so divine. You guys, wore it a ton. I even wore it to work and got a lot of compliments on it. Yeah, this is Narciso Ombre. Next, I have another yellow floral fragrance that's absolutely divine that I wore a ton last summer. This is like one of my favorite summer scents, go-to summer scents, especially when I go on summer vacation, which I took this fragrance on basically all of our vacations. This one is Fragrance Dubois Untones. You guys, this fragrance, it's one of the most beautifully natural smelling yellow floral fragrances ever. There are some synthetic notes in here, but it's mostly beautiful natural fragrance notes that make it smell so very natural. It's like putting your face into a bouquet of gorgeous yellow florals, but getting that natural scent from it, you know. This one is very much a fruity yellow white floral, you guys. This is another one of my husband's absolute favorites on me. He goes gaga for this, loves this fragrance. This one has ylang ylang, Tahitian tiare flower, and a bunch of other exotic white yellow florals. There are a bunch of exotic fruity notes in here that makes it so delicious. The only synthetic note in here, I think, is a synthetic note that gives a little bit of a banana leaf kind of vibe, which you can't really pick out, you guys. You can't even smell that, but it adds to that tropicalness of this fragrance, like the tropically vibes of this fragrance. And then of course it has that beautiful Fragrance Dubois signature 100% organic, clean, beautiful oud in here. Obviously there's a big dose of vanilla in this fragrance. It's such a lovely, stunning fragrance. It is an amazing fragrance to take on your tropical vacations, for example. This is Fragrance Dubois Oud Jaune Intense. Next, I have a perfect sort of quintessential summer fragrance for a summer date night type of fragrance. Better yet, summer date night on your tropical vacation type fragrance, you know. There is literally a warm sand note in this fragrance that makes it so amazing. This one is none other than Tiziana Terenzi Tibet. Wore it a ton this year. Took it on our vacations. Wore it a lot. I took it on our beach vacation too. This one has that sort of synthetic vibe, you know how Tiziana Terenzi fragrances, some of them have that sort of synthetic vibe, you know. But it's so sexy. This is very sweet. It has like a candy note in here that makes it super sweet. There's a warm sand note. It's like you're walking on a tropical beach at nighttime, you guys, the way that warm sand note smells. In here you can actually tell it, like the scent of it. I think that's where that synthetic comes from. Obviously the warm sand note would have to be a synthetic note. It's not like you can squeeze warm sand and get oil out of it. You know what I mean? You probably need Hercules for that. But yeah, this has a bunch of exotic florals and exotic fruity notes that make it so beautiful. I absolutely love this fragrance. It is an amazing, amazing summertime fragrance for like summertime date night. This one's Tiziana Terenzi Tibet. Another fruity summer fragrance that I wore a ton this summer is in my hands. Again, I took this on our beach vacation and wore it a ton during summertime, during high heat months. You know, this is one that performs amazingly well in the heat. This one is Creed Aventus for her. This one, you guys, is a beautifully juicy, fresh, fruity fragrance. This has a gorgeous blackcurrant juicy note. You know how that juicy blackcurrant note, ooh, so good. Got a bunch of citruses that make it very, very fresh, you know. This one has something sexy about it. It's hard to describe, and I'm not sure what fragrance note that's coming from. It might be the musk that's making it smell sexy. This also has gorgeous florals like heliotrope, rose, ylang ylang. There's like that creamy sandalwood in here. You will smell expensive, like an expensive lady on vacation when you wear this fragrance. There's a sophistication to this fragrance, expensive smell to this fragrance. You know, it's hard to make fruity summer fragrances smell expensive, and they did just that with this fragrance. Creed Aventus for her, wore it a ton this summer. Speaking of juicy fruity fragrances, I have another one like that in my hands. This one is by Killian. This is Killian Liaisons Dangereuses. It's a hot girl summer fragrance, you know. It smells like a hot girl in the summertime. This one also has that juicy fruit burst from that blackcurrant note in here, just like Creed Aventus for her. It's got more juicy fruity notes like plum, peach. There's a little bit of coconut in here too. It's got rose, there's geranium, there's amberette, there's sandalwood, there's vanilla. There are some earthy notes like vetiver. There's musk in this fragrance, making it smell sexy. It's, again, a very expensive smelling, juicy, fresh fragrance. It's hard to make fruity, juicy, fresh fragrances smell expensive, but Killian did that. This one is Killian Liaisons Dangereuses. Next, I have another new release in my hands that was released this year that I absolutely fell in love with, and I love this one. It's a flanker to a gorgeous fragrance that everybody loves, but I love this one more than the original. This one is Kilian Love Don't Be Shy Extreme. You guys, this one is more beautiful than the original because this one smells more sophisticated than the original. The original is just a little bit too sweet. There's no sophistication to the original, you know, whereas this one has a heightened rose note. The original has rose too, but this one has more rose. Like the rose note is heightened in here, which is making it smell a little bit more grown up and sophisticated. And this one has the same type of fragrance notes as the original, like the neroli, the honeysuckle, the orange blossom. All those white florals are in this as well, and the marshmallow, of course. But this doesn't have sugar like the original, I believe. The original literally has like sugar in it, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this one is beautiful. It's like the original, but only better. I've been wearing it a ton this year. I wore it quite a bit in like late summer. This is more of a, I would say like a spring type fragrance, but I wore this a lot probably because of the timing of me purchasing it. I ended up wearing this towards the late summer a little bit more. Yeah, this one is Kilian Love Don't Be Shy Extreme. Next one was kind of a surprise to me, you guys. I put quite the dent into it too. Didn't realize I loved it as much as I actually ended up, you know, loving it. And I wear this a ton. And this is like one of those fragrances that I just grab when I'm like running around doing errands and stuff. I wore it a ton when the weather was transitioning, when weather went from summer to like colder months. This one is Givenchy Hot Couture. This one is one of those vintage type of fragrances, you guys, that are just so stunning. It's a very kind of sweet, fruity, fresh spice type fragrance with woodiness in it too. It's quite a sexy fragrance actually for something that looks you know, quite ordinary, and yeah, it's very beautiful. My husband loves the way this smells too, and it's quite aromatic, you know. That's like the other surprising thing about it. So this has like you know, citruses, there's raspberry in here, there's like magnolia, there's a little bit of earthy touch from vetiver, there's a little thing from pepper, and then there's a big dose of amber and musk, which is what I think make this fragrance smell really sexy. There's the sensual sandalwood. However, you guys, you know, the other day it occurred to me, there's something really sort of green in this fragrance that I couldn't put my finger on, and I'm thinking this has angelica. Really, it smells like it has angelica. Honestly, you know, it just occurred to me the other day. I'm like, I bet it has angelica. It has that slight sort of angelica kind of scent to it. It just occurred to me the other day. It's not a revealed note, but I think there is angelica in here. But anyway, yeah, Givenchy Hot Couture. Yeah. So that's it, you guys. Those are the fragrances that I wore a ton this year. I wore a lot of designer fragrances, a lot of niche fragrances. Some of them were not a surprise at all to me. They're stunning, intoxicating fragrances, but then there are some others that were a surprise to me when I thought about what I wore the most. So tell me what you guys wore the most this year. I would love to hear what you wore a ton this year. Chime down in the comment section, and please share with me what your favorite fragrances were this year, what you wore a ton this year. I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about what I wore a ton this year? I, of course, wore a ton more fragrances, you guys. These are the ones that I just reach for repeatedly, a little bit more than others. Remember, I have a lot of fragrances, so I don't reach for the same fragrance very often, but I reach for these repeatedly, which says a lot, because I don't often reach for the same fragrance very often, you know, back to back. Just me reaching for these time after time kind of tells you that I really love them, obviously. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring that notification bell for all notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I will see you guys in my next video.